So I really put like my savings and investing at the forefront of my budget because these things are very important to me. He actually pays the bill for the both of us. What are the things that are important to me and what do I really want to spend my money on? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be showing you my payday routine as well as sharing with you guys some of the tools that I use to budget my money. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Raisa and I do these personal finance types of videos. So if you're into that, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is create a plan for our paycheck. So I get paid bi-weekly from my corporate job. I also have a side hustle, which I don't take into consideration here because everything that I earn from my side hustle gets reinvested back into my business. So I don't think of that as like income that I use to pay my bills or anything like that. That sits in a separate bank account that doesn't get touched unless I need to buy, let's say, inventory, or I need to pay content creators who help promote my brand, etc. So that is separate, and the only thing that goes into my budget planning is my bi-weekly paycheck. For your context, I work a 9-to-5 in the e-commerce industry. Okay, so knowing that context, let's budget my paycheck. I will show you guys the Notion that I created. So this is the Notion template that I made. I have been using this for a couple months now. I want to say since November. So typically what I do before I get paid is I look at how much I made the previous month and use that number as my starting point of how much I think I'm gonna get paid. So the last couple paychecks were about $2,300. So that is what we're going to be using for budgeting for April 14th. So if I open this up, we've got a few categories here. So American Express is one of my credit cards. I have 2 credit cards. I mainly use my Amex and I have a MasterCard with Neo that I just have handy in case someone doesn't accept American Express. So most of my purchases go here because they have a really great point system. I've gotten so many free flights through American Express. I highly recommend them. And then the next one is my rent. I haven't paid rent yet this month, so I definitely need to allocate some of the money that I make towards rent. And then the last 3 categories here are all savings accounts. So $200 goes straight into my emergency fund automatically, and I have that account with Neo, and it's so easy to set up an automatic payment. So it's something that I don't have to think about. And then the other thing that gets automatically taken is my 30th birthday fund. So in the beginning of this year, I knew that I wanted to treat myself to something really special for my 30th birthday. And to do that, I essentially needed to start a sinking fund. If you watched this video, then you might know some of the things that I've been eyeing. But at the top of that list is a Cartier watch. So I wanted to start saving up for my 30th birthday. Ever since I think January this year, I took out $300 from my bi-weekly pay and put it straight into a savings account or a sinking fund. Moving into the last thing, which is my investments. So I do my investing through wealthsimple, and again, they have an automatic feature where they can automatically take $200 from my checking account every other week so that it lines up with my bi-weekly paycheck, which is great. So total in terms of savings and investing, I put about $700 of my bi-weekly paycheck, and I think that this is great. This is the notion of like paying yourself first as opposed to putting all of your money in bills and at the end of the day, like you have nothing left. So I really put like my savings and investing at the forefront of my budget because these things are very important to me. Let me do some calculations. So if we're gonna get paid $2,300 and $700 goes straight into savings and investing, I'm only left with $1,600. So the next thing that I do is check my American Express balance as well as my rent to see how much I can pay off for these 2 things. So if you've seen my budgeting videos, you know that my rent is around $1,100. And although I can pay that with the $1,600 that I have left, I'm not putting everything because I have due dates for my American Express balance that I can't go over, otherwise they will charge me interest. So this is kind of the time where I try to balance out 50% of it goes to my rent and then the other 50% goes to my American Express. So let's try to figure that out right now. So the way that I pay my rent is through e-transferring my partner because he actually pays the bill for the both of us. So I need to e-transfer him $1,068.45. And I think I'm gonna give him half of that, and then the other half will go into my American Express credit card. So I'm gonna plan to e-transfer him around $550 for rent. And then for my American Express, let's see how much I owe. Okay, this is my balance right now, which is $1,196.54. So I've actually paid off my balance for the previous due date. So right now there's no required payment at this time. This is just the balance that I have accumulated over this like new statement, if that makes sense. So there's no like real rush to really pay this off right now. So I'm just thinking of like, where else can I put the remainder of my money? So I have about $1,050 left to play with, and I could probably pay off most of my credit card with that, but I just remembered that I actually need to allocate some of the money to pay for a content creator who is promoting our products. I need to pay her, and that is a little bit more urgent than my American Express. So I'm going to add a new line item here, which is $275. So now our total without American Express is $1,525 minus $2,300. So I'm left with $775. And that's pretty good. I think now I feel comfortable putting that into my American Express. So this is my plan for my paycheck so far. It might shift, it might change depending on what happens, but I feel comfortable doing this. So within this Notion tracker, I also track some of my like savings or sinking fund goals. So I already mentioned my 30th birthday fund, my emergency fund, and I also had a Paris fund. Having these things here kind of just keep me in check and in line of like, what are the things that are important to me and what do I really want to spend my money on? I think this really allows me to not overspend or like spend on things that don't really matter, because the way that my mind works, and tell me if you're the same, is that if I feel like I have leftover money, then I would just go and spend it on random stuff. And I find that having a plan for my paychecks and for like, I don't know, like trips and like treat yourself kinds of things, like it really helps me prioritize the things that I really, really, really want. So that's kind of the purpose of having this like savings goal section here. And then the other section that I have is just having a like clear view of like, what are the expenses that I have coming up, or any like reimbursements or returns that I have. So the first section here is reimbursement and returns. There are times when I order things online and I just want to return them. So I like to keep track of like the money that's coming back to me, so I just have it in the back of my mind. Currently, I only have therapy here. So I had a therapy session. It's around $160, and it's actually something that I can claim through my work insurance. So I had submitted that claim already, and I know that I'm going to be getting back $160 because I had originally paid out of pocket. So that's great. And then the other thing that I have is upcoming expenses. So I just kind of list out the things that I know that are upcoming. I can just brain dump them in here so that when I'm doing my paycheck routine, I can kind of like take these things into account. So an example here is I have a storage unit that I'm renting for about $50, and this is for the month of April. So that was already paid. So this is how I plan my paycheck before I even get paid. And it gives me a clear picture and plan for what I want to do as soon as that money hits my bank account. So now that we have a plan for our paycheck, what is next? I'm going to be taking you guys through my budget tracker. So if you've seen my budgeting videos in the past, I did one for March and for April. You've probably seen this tracker before. I'm actually going to go deep dive into this a little bit because I know I do it pretty high level in those previous videos. So we are in the month of April. The way that this tracker works actually is like so amazing because it shows me at a glance right here how much I spent on what category. So we are fairly fresh into April. We don't have like a ton going on here right now, but just an example from the month of March, we can see here the breakdown of like where my money really went. So my bills, these are my fixed expenses. So think of your rent, your utilities, any like subscriptions that you have, home insurance, etc. So 17% of my money went into my fixed expenses. The biggest chunk came from my personal expenses. So this would be like your variable expenses. This includes groceries, shopping, eating out, any like vacation or travel that you'd like to do would go into personal expenses. And then I split out my business expenses. So I like to see how much money goes into my business expenses. So currently it's at 11%. I'm actually curious how much I spent for my business in February. So shockingly, I spent 30% of my money in my business expenses, and then I'm curious what January is. So again, like 38%. So it fluctuates for sure. I would say that January and December and January would likely be the higher months for my business expenses, only because I own a stationery company. So typically people are looking for planners and stationery goods at around like end of the year and starting the new year. So this doesn't really surprise me. So I spent less on my business in the month of March. In terms of savings, I put 21% of my money into my savings and 7.6% into investments. So that was the previous month, just as like a high level overview. And what's cool about this tracker is that you can actually see, once you've like filled out the full year, a yearly summary of where your money is going as a like total as a whole for the entire year. So I've stuck to this tracker in 2022, and I think it would be really interesting to look back every year and compare where your money is going. Okay, going back into April though. So now I have a plan for my paycheck. And you're probably like, wait, but where are your bills? I don't just pay rent, I pay for many other things. So that goes into this section of my tracker, which is bill payments. These are my recurring fixed expenses. So as I mentioned already, my rent is $1,068.45, and it's usually due April 1st. I've got a Spotify subscription that's around $11. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got a storage unit. I split this cost with my partner, so I pay $25. I have Google Ads and Google Workspace. These two expenses are for my small business. $160 for Google Ads and $8.74 for a Google Workspace. The other thing I have on here is Audible. So I've got an Audible membership. I actually just paused this today because I have so many books that I need to get through that I can't keep up with the new credits. This is $16.74. For BC Hydro, this kind of fluctuates, but it is around like $75 to $100. My partner pays that, and we split the bill in half. He puts it into Splitwise and I would e-transfer him. For my phone bill, I pay $73.45, although this has been on the higher end the last few times, so I need to go call Rogers to see kind of what's going on there. Home insurance, $9.95. Car payment, $413.51. This is another one of those bills that my partner pays and I would then just e-transfer him. Same with internet, $39.20 is my split of the internet bill. And then I have Adobe Creative Cloud. This is $43.67. ICBC insurance is our car insurance, so we split that in half. This is $80.17. I have an MX Cobalt card, which has a $12.99 monthly fee. CDA loan is $27.03. I also have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. This is $10.49. Klaviyo is something that I use for my small business, $26.18. Canva Pro, $16.99, so worth it. If you are a YouTuber or a small business owner, then you know. I have a service charge for my checking account, which is $16.95. and a new Sportsnet subscription, which is $16.79. These are the bills that I pay for every single month. Some of them I pay on my own because they're directly billed to me, and some of them my partner pays and he'll put it on Splitwise, which is an app that allows you to split the payments, and it just tells you how much you owe that person. So we use this pretty frequently and we love this app. So once I get my paycheck, I would then add my income in here. So let's say this was $2,370 for corporate job number 1. And I would then just add the rest of my income here throughout the entire month. Next, I would go into my savings, and these come out automatically. So once I see that it has been pulled from my checking account, I would then add the actual numbers in here. So $200 for my emergency fund and then $300 for my birthday fund. The last thing that gets automatically taken out is my investments. So that is $200. And that is it. Those are really the two main tools that I use to budget and track my money. These tools have really helped me bring down my impulse purchases. I mean, of course I'm human. I am not perfect. These are just the systems that I have in place that help me in staying track on my financial goals and get one step closer to financial freedom. I would love to know the tools you guys use to budget your money. Is it something like this? Is it something completely different? I would love to know in the comments down below so that we can all help each other. That is it for how I budget my paycheck and some of the tools that I use to help me budget. And if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see more finance videos from me. And wherever you are, I hope that you have an amazing day. Bye guys.